What do you want?
They tell me you buy films. I got a film to sell. A tourist film. A uncut tourist film.
Come inside. Where did you get it?
Consolidated Pictures where I work. It's a picture they're making for the Tourist Bureau. Man, it's a Lulu. Oh, I mean, it'll be okay once they get it fixed up for the client, just like any other tourist film. But right now, it's got everything in, just the way the cameraman shot it. Shows what really happened. You wait until you see it.
I don't see anything remarkable.
Oh, well, that's just because you're looking at the first few shots. You gotta get a little farther in.
What makes you think I'd be interested?
Fella in the lab, Porky Clark. Does some work for you sometimes, he told me. Said you bought tourist films from all over and paid good dough if they had good shots showing what it's really like traveling in Canada. Hey, this is the Anti-Tourist Bureau or something, ain't it?
Canadian Anti-Tourist League, a non-taxable organization of private-spirited citizens dedicated to the preservation of the Canadian character and the Canadian country. All right, here's the deal. We don't buy the film. That would be stealing and un-Canadian. We borrow it for 1 weekend, during which it is judged by the executive committee of the League. If it is suitable, we make a copy, from which we make our own version for our series called The Truth About Touring in Canada, distributed throughout the United States by True Blue Films Incorporated. We also examine the film for outstanding demonstrations of rudeness, complacency, cold shouldering, sullen hostility, and other important traits of the Canadian character.
You fellas really got it made, ain't you?
We will feel we have it made, as you say, when the tourist trade in Canada equals that in Tibet. But we're making progress. You might be interested to know that Americans used to spend half their foreign travel money in Canada and now are spending only a third. Or you might not be interested. The fee is $200. We return the film before business hours on Monday.
That's okay.
What a revolting display. But we must face it, Mr. President. We must know the enemy. We must fight fire with fire, fact with fact, and I have made it my business, Mr. President, to master the facts.
Yes, Agatha. Well, they'll never find anything with as simple or effective a message as that.
Never.
By the way, Angus, I used your briefcase paint kit last night. Worked wonderfully. I put up a huge poster right across from the back of the Royal Edward Hotel. No splash at all.
Oh, good for you, Mr. President. Good for you.
I have the film ready now, sir.
Ah, good. All right, I think we can start then. Mr. Watt has very kindly borrowed an uncut version of a tourist film for us to review tonight.
Mr. President, I feel that our film procurement department needs improving. It says here that 18 tourist films have been put into production in Canada this year, yet we have only seen 7. As one American tourist in 10 reports seeing a film as his reason for deciding to visit Canada, it is quite apparent that films are a very important and dangerous medium for tourist promotion.
They're all in it, Agatha, with their posters, their films, and their telecasts. The provinces, the federal government, the Canadian Tourist Association, luring the Americans.
And look at the result. Almost 30 million tourists a year.
Unfortunately, the Bureau of Statistics does not publish the number of Americans who stay away from Canada after viewing our versions of these films. I'm sure they're equally effective, thanks to the uncompromising quality of the Canadian character.
The Canadian character. Yes, the Canadian character. You can't beat that. No compromise.
Shall we begin? Yes, the usual sickening music. Here we go. Along about here somewhere, a voice will come in, smooth and rich as warm butter. The voice of an idiot offering his birthright for sale. Come to Canada, land of cool, deep forests and sparkling waters. Relax beside the primeval stillness of a northern lake. Or to put it another way, destroy our peace and quiet for miles around with your roaring outboard motor. And your splashing. Your yelling and your squalling brats. If you find anyone relaxing, upset him. If you find a stream, fish it out. Take everything. Crowd us out of our own country with your shameless half-naked women.
Canadian women. Some Canadian women. Wear them too, you know.
And who taught them, may I ask? All those foreign tourists flocking in like locusts.
The Financial Journal says they brought $328,541,376 into the country in 1957.
A mess of pottage. Let them keep their money and we'll keep our country.
Well, they get it back. Canadian tourists spend more than that traveling abroad.
You mean we spend more to get out of the country than they spend to get in? Incredible. Mostly in Scotland, I suppose.
Mostly in the United States.
Ah, here we are. Here comes the nice average family. All these films have one. They consist of dad, mom, 2 kids, and an open automobile. They have 2 weeks and $300 to spend. A restless passion for moving on, and because the film has to show a lot of places. They're accustomed to the big smile and the friendly service. And they always seem to be Americans. You see, Americans are restless. Always in a hurry.
Fill her up, please.
Is there a washroom here?
Sure. Over there behind the station.
Come on, Ted.
They have to have service now, and they want it with a smile.
49 cents a gallon, eh? You people pay a lot for gas around here.
If you wanted standard, why didn't you say so?
Good. He could have told him that the Canadian gallon is 20% larger than the American, but he didn't. That's the Canadian character. Never put yourself in the other fellow's place. Let him put himself in yours. Maintain your integrity. That fellow should be considered for an award.
Oh, dear.
The washroom.
Well, I suppose.
They've come for the simple life of woods and lakes, but they expect tiled bathrooms just the same. And they expect us to scrub up after them.
Everything all right, honey?
Definitely not all right.
Well, you know, bush country.
Well, I guess we all recognize this town. Grandfather had a mill there in the 80s. And now look at it. Jammed with traffic. Tourists idling about interfering with business. Stopping in the middle of the street as though they owned the place.
Perhaps if they put a sign up, the tourists could find their way out of town and not be such a nuisance.
Ah, now there's a constable who knows his business. This should help reduce the town debt a little. A fellow must work for the Tourist Bureau. Wouldn't have lasted a week in my father's day, I can tell you. Now, there's a place I know well. Used to be a beautiful sweep right down to the lake. Put up our tents there many a time as kids. Of course, tents are not good enough for tourists. They have to have spring mattresses and French cookery when they go out roughing it. Look at that fellow smiling and scraping. He's put $1 million into that place and he's not taking any chances. Just a modest little $6,000 cottage for your comfort in the great outdoors, Mr. Tourist. What? No bellhop? Pity.
Want a jug? Pour me a glass, will you, honey?
Okay. Oh,
What's the matter?
it's chipped. Oh, fine.
Back in a minute.
Whoever's the maid here, I think we might consider her for an award. In her quiet, undercover way, she seems to be doing quite a good job for us.
Miss? Could you tell me where I could get this heated up?
The kitchen won't be open for another 3/4 of an hour.
Oh,
You can see the cook at dinner time.
at dinner. Oh, dear.
Now, here's a girl who seems to like playing hostess. You'd think she owned a piece of the hotel. New England boiled lobster, southern fried chicken. Our host is trying so hard to make his guests feel at home, they might as well be at home. At least there'll be no delightful discoveries in the food line to bore their friends with when they get back home. But it does make the mouth water a bit, doesn't it, eh, Agatha? You'd think children would be the responsibility of their mothers. But no, the hotel has to take care of them while mother idles about like a traveling princess.
Traveling princesses have little time to idle, Mr. President. They work very hard indeed.
Yes, of course, Agatha. I beg your pardon and theirs. Look at that place, Agatha. Some of these resort owners will turn themselves inside out to lure on the tourist. How they pamper them, catering to their every whim. If they ask for the moon, they try to present it on a silver platter. Nothing too good for them. Oh, it's just possible the hotel owner is playing right into our hands. He invests $1 million and doesn't spend $2 to replace his ping pong balls. Or $10 to get his piano tuned. Or $5 on a few new magazines. These tourists are restless, fidgety people. They expect you to keep them busy all the time. Well, they begin to wonder whether they're having $50 a day's worth of fun. And now what? Oh, look at that, Agatha. Just when they're ready to throw in the sponge from sheer boredom, the crafty fellow shoves food at them. I don't quite understand his mentality. He's not consistent. You see, he's deliberately aiming to send them off to bed feeling happy. Ah, the beauty of our Canadian summer night. I must say, Agatha, I do envy them. Drugged with our fresh air and our sunshine, they'll sleep like babies.
Jack, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm chasing the mosquito. What do you think I'm doing?
John's sake.
Just... there he goes.
There he is.
No, no, you didn't get up. Yeah.
Here he comes. Oh. Now go to bed.
Thank you very much.
The baby.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, he fell off this whole thing. Oh, Jamie.
A lovely night. And what will they remember in the morning? Broken ping pong balls and mosquitoes. And what will they do? Go somewhere else. And who will help them? Our government, elected and paid for by us. In spite of the obvious fact that Canadians don't really want tourists, our government devotes itself with unflagging zeal to encouraging people to go from one place to another. They have these tourist bureaus all over the place, where they give away advice and expensive maps for children to tear up. But it makes no difference, so long as all our roads are well clogged. Ah, the dock at Port Carling, the Champs-Élysées of the Muskoka Lakes. You can sit on that dock and watch the summer world go by. Or you could once. I suppose all you see now are tourists. Of course, the souvenir business. These films all have something about souvenirs. Charming mementos of your stay in Canada. Fine examples of our native Oh, splendid. But I'm still bothered, Agatha. There are still far too many of these souvenir places where they offer the genuine article. And as long as it's genuine, they'll buy. And I say, what of the future? What is to become of us if we blindly insist on selling off these precious samples of the craft of our first citizens? Selling our heritage to these hordes of moneyed marauders from the south?
Mr. President, your blood pressure.
Ah, I think I know this place. Yes. Now we're heading for Algonquin Park, where nature's beauties lie unsullied by the hand of man. Which means we haven't filled it up with golf courses, hot dog stands, and motels. But our kindly government can't leave well enough alone. Unspoiled. What about these picnic tables and luxurious garbage containers with which the government chooses to clutter up the most entrancing beauty spots? Anything to lure them on.
I can't think why. There's no place for them to spend any money.
Good heavens, they're eating again. They must be the hungriest people in motion picture history. Here in this magnificent game preserve where the animals have lost all fear of man, it's possible to meet the other members of nature's family face to face. Algonquin Park probably has the only deer in the world with ulcers. Those deer, of course, would be better off dodging buckshot than eating that rubbish.
Rubbish or not, Mr. President, the appalling fact is that food consumption is the tourist's most important function. It says in the Financial Journal that if each tourist spent an additional 15 minutes in Canada eating one fried egg sandwich, the country would sell 625,000 dozen more eggs, 750,000 more loaves of bread, and 120,000 more pounds of butter.
Ghastly thought, isn't it?
Where is everybody? menu, please. Thank you. Want a hamburger, eh?
Look at the prices.
What do they expect? This place has to live all year and what it makes in 3 months.
All right, come on, honey, let's go.
Just a minute.
Well, we're in a bit of a rush, Miss. I'll take a couple of bars. Yeah, that's right. The smallest I have is this 20.
Exchange on American money, you know.
Oh?
Yeah, we usually make it 5%. So if that's $20 and 5 cents on the dollar, that should be $1 in exchange.
Thank you.
Well, my friends, I think that did it. Next year we'll have 4 fewer tourists. It's that discount on their money that really hurts. The trick is never explain. Never tell them that it's their investment in the development of our resources that has pushed our money up in the international market. Thank you. Never apologize. Flaunt it in their faces. Make them feel inferior and soak them for all you can get.
Next year, they'll be in Mexico or Europe with their baby bottles and wet bathing suits. And we can eat our own fried egg sandwiches.
Remember, the Financial Journal says the total American tourist dollars spent in Canada increased 6.1% last year.
Yes, my dear Agatha, but whilst we have true blue Canadian character like that girl's, we'll beat them yet. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need have no worries about the future of the tourist business in Canada. Watts, would you kindly run that last bit of film over again for us? The scenic beauties of our country and our greatly improved tourist facilities are more than compensated for by the natural bad manners and disagreeable behavior of our Canadian character. Properly developed, I think we can look forward with confidence to the time when we shall have no tourists at all. Roll it, Watts. Now I should like to nominate for the Tourist Go Home Award of the Year that delightful little waitress we saw at the end of the film. It seems to me her rudeness had a spontaneous quality difficult to simulate. Her open resentment of intruders in the restaurant, the disdain with which she threw down those gravy-spotted menu cards, the simple malice with which she extorted the discount on American currency were all beautiful to behold and extremely effective. That tourist was so angry he couldn't even talk back. He just wanted to go home.